November 17th, 2025, regular Board of Education meeting for the Marcellus Central School District. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. This evening we'll start with the public hearing for the amendment to the district-wide safety plan document 2025 to 2026.
So our district-wide safety plan was initially submitted and approved in July. The state changed a law requiring the plans now include information about AEDs.
Yep.
So we had to now reopen, amend our plan and resubmit it with Appendix J with information about the district's AED plan.
And that's something just so that the public knows we're in the midst of getting trainers here so that we're strategic about making sure we have individuals trained to properly use the AED, and so we'll be doing that throughout the course of the year. But again, in the beginning, starting to strategically make sure that our coaches already have to have that training, but other individuals that are overseeing extracurricular activities, we're going to be working toward meeting that.
Yeah. We have one AED in every building?
No, we have more than that. Ryan knows the exact numbers.
Okay.
We have 16 in all across.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Between buildings and coaches.
Great. Okay. All right. So that, any other questions, comments?
It will stay open. This will be on our website for 30 days. Again, at a public hearing, we have to have it available on the website for comment. It will be on the website, and then we'll bring it back to the board for final approval next meeting.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. With that, that will end the public hearing, and we will move on to item number 3, recognition.
Okay, so I have a couple items of recognition, and I don't want to steal Mike Free's thunder because he's going to do an athletic report, but I do have to give a shout out. I know he will too. Our girls varsity soccer won back-to-back state championships over the weekend. It was an incredible game. We had so many fans, and the weather was not ideal, I will tell you. But just to see the faces of our girls, and many of them are seniors, and so just what a way to top their career. Lori Updike showed up at my office this morning to give me this. So she had an extra, and I'm going to pass it around because it's quite extraordinary. These are the medals that the students have around their necks up here. So kudos to Lori, the players, and obviously the assistant coaches as well. And then I just want to give a shout out to Mike Dingman, our Director of Technology, and Adam Greiner, who actually was just here setting up the tech for tonight. Adam is our network administrator. They, for the past few weekends, have just been doing extra above and beyond. This is what makes Marcellus amazing, is that our staff go above and when we're called to duty, whatever it might be. If we're in the middle of something with our family, this is what we do. And Mike Dingman and Adam Greiner did exactly that. One of the weekends in November, we had a power outage, or actually end of October, we had a power outage, and they came in to work on restoring the network, get everything set up. And in addition, we had some issues with our network that they came in again over a weekend, spent a whole day just making sure that we were protected. So just again, Mike is here. They are just invaluable, both of them. And then I do want to just give a shout out to, last week we held interviews for Director of Special Education and Grants. And we had 3 different committees. We had a parent committee, a student committee, and a staff committee. Tucker was there, participated as part of the student committee. Christine and Jen Tedesco participated as parent and board members. And just an amazing experience. It was a Monday night before a day off because the next day was Veterans Day, and it just again goes to show you the commitment of this district toward just everyone, the work and how we put students first. This position is a critical position and it does require students first. And so everybody that was there and participated, that was their focus, to find the right person, and indeed we did. And that is it for recognition.
Okay, very good. We'll move on to item number 4, presentations.
So just a couple updates, and I'm going to ask Don to chime in too. The zero emission bus mandate is still there. And so if you recall, districts will not be, well, as it stands, districts will not be able to purchase any buses that are not zero emission buses as of 2027. And then by 2035, their entire fleet is supposed to be zero emission buses. Don and I have been to many different workshops and conferences and listening to our colleagues from around the state, and most districts that have put a proposition forward for zero emission buses, it has not passed. And so I think the governor is starting to realize that the timeline is likely not going to be met. However, they haven't scrapped the mandate. What they're saying is districts have to apply for a waiver. So if you don't think you're going to meet the mandate, which quite honestly we're not, we're ahead of other districts in many ways, and Don can kind of talk about that a little bit. But again, I don't see that it possibly would pass here. For a myriad of reasons. The expense, the technology isn't quite there, the winter months, there's so many things that go into that. I'm going to just let Don sort of chime in about some of the things, Tony, you heard last year, worked on quite a bit, and Don has picked up that torch.
So just in talking to other districts, I think we are probably a little bit further ahead than most. Some of them are kind of just hoping this doesn't happen, seems like, but Tony was pretty, was very on top of things. We are in the process of securing a grant through NISBIT. In order to attain that grant, we would have to put a referendum in May of 2026. So we got it was supposed to be in 25. We got a waiver to push that off a year. That grant would pay for about one bus. So we could potentially get one bus for seemingly free. Those buses cost upwards of $400,000, where a regular gas or diesel bus is in the neighborhood of $185,000, so double the price. But we'd be getting it for free, which would be nice. By the end of the year, the education department has to put a process in place for us to apply for a waiver. So that process isn't out yet. Everybody kind of thinks that it's going to be, I don't want to say a rubber stamp, but every district is going to apply for this waiver, and so we're not expecting it to be too onerous. So it'll be the first of two-year waivers. For the second one, you probably have to prove that you've made some incremental steps towards bus electrification, which I think we have certainly so far.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah, I remember when the deadline came out, we knew right from the get-go that it was an aggressive deadline, and that,
Oh,
yeah, so.
So we'll do all of the things that we need to do to make sure that we're, again, we recognize that eventually the technology will probably be up to speed. It's just, it's not yet. And financially for the district, and not to mention the electric grid, Ryan can tell you too, we're just not situated right now with the electric grid to pull it off. The other just an update that I have is Dr. Cook, OCMBC's district superintendent, did submit the regionalization plan for the districts in this central New York area. And there aren't really drastic things to be concerned about. Some of the things that we have been talking about, and honestly they're great things, is there a way to perhaps work together with UPK? And so if you remember, we always seem to have a few people who we can't get into, 5 or 6 kids because of the lottery. We only have 3 classrooms. in talking to the OCS superintendent, he had some room. So it would have been a beautiful thing to be able to say to our families who were last on the list, I know OCS has room. So those are some of the things that we're working to try to make it productive and efficient and effective. Something else that's also been floated is working on professional development. So in a district, a larger district like Janesville, DeWitt, Liverpool, they're able to do some bigger things with professional development, bring in speakers. And so what we're talking about is there a way to create that regionally so that we can all tap into that high quality professional development? So again, those things are great and can only really help us. And then the last thing that I just want to put out there, there is a proposed amendment to Commissioner's regulations to require instruction in personal finance and climate education. And so the way it's anticipated to be adopted in March of 2026, what the requirement is by the end of the grade band. So here you see a K4 grade band, a 5-8 grade band, a 9-12 grade band. By the end of the grade band, a student has to have instruction in personal finance and then climate education separately, obviously. But what Bob and I have had conversations already, and what we will do is do a curriculum audit. We do some of these things, we just have to make sure we know where and make sure that we're doing our due diligence and providing students with what they need in both of those areas. And that's it for my presentation. We're going to move on to Mr. Montgomery.
Okay. All right, I am proud to present today the 3 through 8 math and ELA results. So each year we do a summary of how our students did. This year, just so that you know, we continued with computer-based testing. As you may know, all districts are required to do computer-based testing now, whether they want to or they don't, so paper testing is going away. We just experienced year 2 of the new science test at grades 5 and 8. Our window was the April 7th through May 23rd this year. So in years past, they said, here's your 2-week window or 10-day window for ELA, here's math. They opened it up to say, here you go, make it work. So we don't all have to test at the same time, which does give us some latitude. Our scores may have been impacted, but not by much. We did have the Amazon Web Service, the very first day of ELA, caused us to delay and then actually have to stop some of our testing because it just crashed. Not any fault of ours, not any fault of our planning, but it went all the statewide. So it threw a little monkey wrench in, but our students did an outstanding job. Math and ELA, just as a reminder, are 2 sessions. They're over 2 days. And the science students sit for just 1 day. And then our nicest lot, you'll see a range of dates there, and our students who are ENL students test over multiple sessions for speaking, reading, writing, and listening. We do have unlimited time during the regular school day. If students are being productive, they can work a majority of the day. We tend not to do that because they still need lunch and recess, and they need a mental break from the testing as well. And then what you will see, I put a link in on, is the last bullet. That is our data warehouse that we have used. This is our 3rd year. And the reports that you see here are ones that we can produce and use data to make decisions. And it simply is a warehouse that we can have all of our data fed into, and you can get a profile on a student or groups of students within a few minutes. So the presentation you will see tonight took me longer to just go through and analyze the data than it did for me to put charts together. It was simply like less than 8 minutes for me to do all the charts and put it into a slide deck, which is phenomenal when you have a lot on your plate. So what you're looking at here, let me just familiarize you. This is the same setup for every slide. We're going to read it from left to right. It's a 4-year comparison of levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just as a reminder, what you see in the yellow and the green, that's what the state determines as proficient. And we want those numbers. You should see lots of yellow and lots of green. And then these columns here, if you like to look at numbers better, This represents the number of students who scored a level 4 in grade 3, then level 3, 2, and 1 for a total of 103. Any questions about the format that you're looking at? I just want to make sure that you're familiar with that as we go through.
That's a significant growth in green.
Yes, it
That's
is.
incredible.
So I want to just give you a little bit of background. In September, actually in August of 2019, we began the Science of Reading at KCH, where we sent our first groups of teachers to be trained in letters volumes 1 and 2. The goal of that training was so that teachers could make the best decision about curriculum materials that they could, with the idea of what are good, solid literacy practices, how do we evaluate our current curriculum, how do we make changes, and how do we do what is best for students. So what you see here is over 4 years of time, this is a 21.4% increase in proficiency levels over 4 years of time. What that came out to be is about 73.8%, and that is the highest at grade 3 in ELA in 10 years. So our students, even though we had that little hiccup with the system that came on the very first day, they still did an amazing job at progressing with their ELA skills at grade 3. And then grade 3 math is what you see here. This is a phenomenal set of data that many districts are asking, like, what are you doing? Because over 4 years' time, if you see here, this was 85% proficiency in grade 3 math, followed by 85% grade 3 proficiency in math, followed by 79.3% in proficiency. I will tell you that districts within our driving distance, we could add up their proficiencies, they don't equal 85%. So our kids are doing a phenomenal job. And as you will see in the slide coming up for grade 5 in particular, this very first cohort here that scored 85% also scored 83% last year. So they are holding on to their proficiency, which tells us a couple different things. The strategies that our teachers are using and the schedules that we have in place are helping our students, and then the curriculum piece for math in particular is helping as well. Do we have improvements to make? The answer to that is yes, but our data does look really promising, especially for our 3rd graders coming up. It's their first time taking a computer-based test. So on to grade 4, we still do see similar results. You can see that the green and the yellow are growing, and in particular with grade 4, you'll see a significant drop in the level 1 over 4 years of time. And we're picking that up either in the level 2 and then into the proficiency levels as well. And that's really what we wanted to see. So it's a phenomenal place to look. They went from, I just want to give you this stat, I just want to make sure I'm right here, 48.9% in 21-22 up to 61.2% in this last year in proficiency. That is a huge gain in ELA. So congratulations to the students, our teachers, and families as well, because it takes a group effort to do. And then grade 4 math, they're hanging on to those percentages as well. So we started 3rd grade, you see the proficiencies are really gaining capacity there as well. And then this is 5th grade, and their scores look equally as promising. I just want to make sure I have the right percentages here. So this is a 74% in ELA compared to 45.5% 4 years ago in proficiency. I will say, just so that you know, that this is the very first year that we came out of COVID. Yes, we were still wearing masks, but students were returning to a full schedule, but we still had some of those barriers with masks in that uncomfortable situation. But you can see over time, 3.4% of students were in level 1.
Compared to
At grade
29%.
5.
Yeah, that's incredible.
They peaked at 29% and
Yeah.
over just 3 years
Yeah.
of time reduced it to 3.4%. And then their math here, this is the one where this is 83% here that they scored. Erin Malone is one of the teachers in Colleen Cross in grade 5. And as I was getting these results, I ran upstairs and I'm like, you don't understand. I'm like, look at this percentage. And they're like, Erin Malone stood and she goes, is that good? I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, we need more work around data, but it's okay. I said, other districts don't even add up to 83%, let alone have one grade level that scores the 83%. And there was a stat that I wanted to share with you from this. Over time, from 21-22 to this one, 24-25 for grade 5, that is a 49% increase in proficiency level in 4 years' time. That is outstanding, and I need to say thank you to the board for supporting our professional development plan and any incentives that we bring across and try, and giving us the permission to have that latitude, because it is showing differences. This is our science. So as I alluded to earlier, or said earlier, we've only had this test for 2 years. If you are a teacher in a classroom with a grade 5 and grade 8 science exam, what we remember as hands-on science, and let me practice and show you, has turned into a flat-out reading test. And as I stood over students this spring when they were taking it, I was amazed at the amount of reading that they had to do in order to answer questions on the life cycle of a frog at grade 3, or at grade 5. But as you can see, what happened, our percentages grew. We only had 2.3% of our students in level 1 at grade 5. So the teachers, I ran upstairs to Katrina Erickle, and I'm like, look, there were 19% increase over this for grade 5. And she's like, that's awesome. So the teachers do get a little excited about the good data that's coming out of here. And then grade 6, grade 6 is showing some steady progression across for ELA in the red and the orange, which honestly is not what we exactly want. But there are 2 things that we have done this year to combat that. Number 1, we have put an organized curriculum in place for grade 6 that is not just teacher created, but it's going to help the teachers guide their instruction. And on top of that, we also have the pilot going on right now, K6, which involves 16 teachers so that we can standardize some of the work that students are experiencing. So we will get there, but this is an area of growth, and we will look to next year. I'm very excited to see what happens in the spring. Not that I get excited over standardized testing. I'd like the results immediately. I'm not a patient person, but we did get them in August this year, which was, I was amazed. And then math continues to make some growth here. We did have a cohort that grew here out of level 2. And we're working to address that as well. Grade 7, we do have some interesting statistics here. As we look across, our tier 2 has reduced significantly, 31% down to 18.2, and then our proficiency levels continue to climb at grade 7. Grade 7 and 8, in all fairness, are our grades that we have the highest number of opt-outs for, and some dip as low as 80% on some of them. So just so you know, that's one of the factors that we always have to take into consideration as well. And then here is our grade 7 math. This is following suit with the elementaries. If you look, 27.3% at level 2 in 21-22 down to 16.7. And then if you look at the red, 24.2% down to 8.3 in 4 years' time. So we are making progress forward. And then 8th grade, another piece that I promised Stephanie that I would definitely say. Grade 8, there is a lot that goes on with ELA and math and science. So don't forget we have Regents exams that are available, or Regents courses for our math students and for our science. So they do not have to take the state exams. So when you see the results here, they're like, ooh, these look really low. You'll see, like, by the time we get to science, it's like 48 kids. But the numbers are promising, even with the small number. So our ELA is got a great trend going across. The green is growing, the yellow is leveling out, and the orange and red are decreasing, and that's really what we want to see. And here's our math again. Again, you see 36.5% at level 1 4 years ago, down to 8.1%. So I will credit that to our teachers, to our students, to our families, and to the curriculum that we continue to work on every single day. And then here's our science. We continue to grow, even though you see only 48. That's taken up by our Earth and Space Science Regions course, of course. And then our 8th graders, I will be honest with you, get a little tired by the time this all happens. So the opt-out for science creeps up there as best we can combat that. And then just to let you know, NISA slot, that is our E&L students. We had 3 students take this. We're not a district that has many E&L students, but they do have to take a series of components. We had 2 kids that tested out 100% at commanding. That means for us, our teacher only has to do some check-ins with them, very brief amount of time. And then our last student scored in the expanding, which is a very limited amount of time each day that we have to spend. So our E&L teachers and our gen ed teachers who work with those students, great job for them as well, because they're getting across the line. All right, any questions? Okay.
So, and Bob, you can see it right there, we really have focused, and as part of our strategic plan, is focusing in on data decision-making. And so that's what the work has been for the past few years, and I will say, I do think it's paying off. And again, we're not, it's not that we're obsessed of our state scores, it's just how can we make sure that we are preparing students adequately for the next grade level, and that really helps us just know that we're doing it.
I was trying to do the math and figure out which grade are UPK, our first UPK kids. What grade would they be?
They're not there yet.
They're not? Okay.
3rd grade is where they are right now.
Oh, they are, okay.
So we will be
Okay.
very interested to see what happens with our scores on top of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was 4 years ago. Okay.
Time flies.
Thank you, Bob. All right, now Director of Athletics report. Mike, I'm sorry, I stole your thunder.
I have more thunder in there.
Oh,
Because
good.
we had yet another just an amazing fall season with our sports teams. And with some of them, even though it doesn't look like they went very far, just the progress they made, where they were in those situations, they just had outstanding seasons. So we'll start with girls volleyball. So our girls volleyball team had just an amazing season, the regular season. League champions in the division, they're in the top division in our league, they won it outright. They were just chugging right through. And unfortunately, we got to the section semifinals and they lost in 5 games to Skinny Atlas. And there's a bunch of reasons for that. I won't go into all the reasons, but there was a pregame injury with one of our players. There was Skinny Atlas was playing out their minds, which I'm not going to give them any credit for that. And we went right to the 5th game, right down to the wire, and unfortunately, we're not able to finish that game out. So they ended it at the section semifinals. Our boys golf team, we have a new golf coach this year, Mike Weiscotton, took the reins on our boys golf team and did an outstanding job. There was a group of boys that I was not worried about, but a lot of them had never played golf before. And they came together well, and they qualified for sectionals. And this is the first time in golf history that they've tried to do the team sectionals and the individual sections at once in the fall. Typically, they have not done that. They just qualify for individual sectionals in the fall, and they would have to go on to play team sectionals in the spring if that's what they were planning on doing. But they had a nice showing at the championships this fall. Our girls tennis team, another one. They qualified for as a team in sectionals. They made it all the way to the sectional quarterfinals. And another one, I won't tell you all the details, but when you don't have officials on a court and you're relying on honesty for calls, there was some not so honest calls made in that game. We lost, unfortunately, in the quarterfinals to New Hartford. But this is the first time that I've been here that every one of our starters on the girls tennis team also qualified for sectionals, and they went pretty far with the brackets and sectionals as individuals. So it was a great showing, especially after graduating. I believe it was 12 seniors off of our team from last year for tennis. So we lost a lot of good players last year, and we still reloaded again with our girls tennis team. Cross country, and just a hugely successful season for cross country. The second annual Mustang Invitational was huge. If you were trying to go anywhere near the park on October 18th, you couldn't get anywhere near the place. It was just mobbed with kids. I believe there were 1,000 runners this year, Jason was saying,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
which is pretty awesome to have that many kids down there in the park racing. At sectionals, that's where our season ended this year because we kind of got dinged up a little bit, and I don't know if you, with the running piece, if you're not tapering perfectly so that you're crescendoing and you're kind of doing this at the end, sometimes you have a bad day. But I'm just going to tell you one story, and just go with me on this. Amelia Pilon is an 8th grader. She was nationally ranked as a cross-country runner, as an 8th grader. So she starts at sectionals. She's leading the whole entire pack at sectionals for the girls. And I won't go into details, but something happened about midway through. She was walking on the course, and the coach kind of said to her, hey, what's going on? And just talked to her a little bit and said, you gotta finish this. She had dropped from 1st back to 27th. She said, yep, I'm gonna finish this, and turned the jets back on and climbed all the way back up to 8th place, which was 2 slots away from going to states. So that's pretty amazing as an 8th grader. And that's a lot of pressure for an 8th grader to learn how to deal with at a big, huge, giant game like that. So that was a pretty cool situation we had with them. Football team, we did another amazing season, but didn't go as far as we wanted to go. We unfortunately played Little Falls in the first game of the year and beat them pretty soundly. So when we got them in the quarterfinals and sectionals and they had to come back out here to play again, I think some of our boys were looking ahead to the next game, and they had a player that we had not seen on the field before. I don't know if he was injured, and this kid was pretty amazing. So we lost a close one in the sectional quarterfinals with our football team. Boys soccer, another situation like that. They had a great season, but every one of the games that they lost to all these big schools and these tight games were by 1, maybe 2 goals all season long. So we were right in it all the way through the whole season. They actually were co-champions for their league and their division, so another league championship team. And they made it in sectional playoffs all the way to the semifinals, and they lost to West Hill. And I guess it's okay when you, I don't like to lose to West Hill, and I don't like to lose to Skinny Alice, but when you lose to West Hill in the sectional semifinals and then they go on to win the state championships, you go, okay, you can palate that one and go, that's okay. Because you beat them and you know who knows where you're going to get to. Now we come to girls soccer. I can't really say anything other than league champs, 3-peat sectional champions with this team, regional champions, and then, like thunder was stolen out from underneath me, the Class B state champions yesterday. And boy, what a game. That was a tough game. Semifinals on Saturday, we dominated the whole entire day. Like, they were possessing the ball. We took like 35 shots on goal, and we're only able to muster 1 in regular time frame, and we had to go to overtime with a team we didn't need to go to overtime with. They played a great game, but just the finishing wasn't there with getting into the goal. And on Sunday, Livonia was tough. They were hustling to the ball. We were the better soccer team, but they gave us a good hard match, and that was an outstanding game yesterday. We still beat them 2-0. So how awesome is that? So now, the last but not least, our girls swimming team. And a lot of people don't know this, but we actually have a girls swimming team. It's Marcellus swimming, but we swim with Skinny Alice independently over there. They only allow us to have 3 girls on the team. All 3 of our girls went to sectionals, which is what they have to do on this independent team. They have to qualify individually for sectionals. But Molly McMaster, section champion in the 100 butterfly. And Vivian Pilon is just another amazing, and you notice the same last name as Amelia. Vivian was a sectional champion in 100 freestyle and the 200 freestyle. But earlier in the season, she qualified for 2 other events. So in swimming, you actually have to swim a certain time to be able to qualify to go to states. Molly missed the cut time for states, even though she was a section champion by one point some odd seconds. So she doesn't get to go to the states, but Vivian made the cut time in the 100 freestyle and the 200 freestyle, which she won at sectionals. Earlier in the season, she qualified in the 100 butterfly and got the state cut time to go to states in that. And she also qualified earlier in the season in the 50 free to go to states. You're only allowed to represent or be entered in 2 events at states. So this Friday is the state championship for girls swimming. Vivian will be swimming. She chose the 50 free and the 100 free. And where she's ranked, she should be right there at the top and make it to the finals on Saturday. So the opening heats are Friday, like the semifinals, and they qualify for the finals on Saturday, and we'll see more to come on that. Even better part, last week, this is the first time since in my memory and since I've been here, that we have had 5 athletes sign national letters of intent this fall. There's 2 signings. There's the one that happens right around Veterans Day, and then there's one that happens right about Valentine's Day in February. And it's all spring, fall sports. So, what I told them all, depending on the research you look at, 8 to 12% of all high school athletes actually play a sport in college. That's a pretty low number. And of those 8 to 12% of all high school athletes, and it depends on what research you look at, it's between 1 and 2% of those 8 to 12% actually get offered money to play in college. So that's pretty amazing. So I told them all they're all part of that 2% club. Because I went with a bigger research because I don't want to say less than 1% club. But so we had Christopher Dashna. He's playing lacrosse at Maryland. Nick Rayfield playing lacrosse at SU. Donovan Frere playing lacrosse at Binghamton. Cece Powell playing women's lacrosse at UNC. And then Lorelei Riefler, crew in Rhode Island. And we don't even have a crew team. So she did this all on her own with the Syracuse Chargers crew team. That is amazing. So kudos. Great athletes, great fall season. Looking forward to a great winter season. And I know this young man needs to get to a practice here pretty soon. Because we're looking for another great basketball season. Yes, absolutely. And here we go. See.
Thank you, Mike. Incredible athletes and just an incredible season, and thank you, Mike, again.
Okay, at this time, we'll move on to item number 5, residents' comments. Public expression at the Board of Education meetings is encouraged, and a specific portion of the agenda shall provide for this privilege. In most instances, the board shall reserve judgment regarding questions and concerns that are brought to the board's attention at a board meeting, as it is typically not prudent for the board to make instantaneous determinations. In addition, many issues that are brought to the board's attention do not require a formal determination by the board, but instead are most appropriately addressed by the superintendent of schools or persons designated by the superintendent without further board action, in accordance with Board Policy 3220, Community Relations. Do we have any residents' comments at this time? Okay. Moving on to the business portion of the meeting, item number 6, acceptance of gift to the Marcellus Central School District from Arthur Scotty. Resolved that the Board of Education accepts the gift of $10,000 from Mr. Arthur Scotty to Marcellus Central School District for the DMS Auditorium Sound Booth. Can I have a motion?
Motion,
Amy?
Second, Justin.
Second, Justin. Questions or comments before we vote?
So just to give you some background, Art was a English teacher, 7th grade English teacher, and fun fact that I just found out tonight, he was 2 board members here present, their English teacher. So Kelly and Erica both had Art as an English teacher. He visited, he lives in New Hampshire, but visited I think it was in the summertime, late, or in
He
the
actually
fall.
stopped in last year, was interested in the project. Shannon Furmano directed him towards us as a possibility for a future donation. When he saw what the auditorium project was going to be on paper, he got inspired and then stopped again back out this fall to see what the progress was and wanted to make a generous donation directly to a component of that project.
Thank you, Ryan. And so the sound booth, I know I've shown pictures. It is state-of-the-art, and again, considering what we had previously, it is quite an improvement. And so that donation is specifically designated for that sound booth.
Very generous donation. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 6.2, acceptance of gift to the Marcellus Central School District from the class of 1970. Resolved that the Board of Education accepts the gift of $1,970 from Marcellus High School class of 1970 to Marcellus Central School District for agricultural programs. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Erica?
Second. Kelly.
Second, Kelly. Questions or comments before we vote?
So I received probably about 3 weeks ago, a beautiful thank you letter with a check from the class of 1970. They had their reunion this past summer, and they were so impressed by the ag facility that they wanted to put their donation, and again, symbolically, it's $1,970 toward the ag program. So again, just we appreciate their generosity.
Very much so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Moving on to item 6.3, approval of the 2026-2027 budget development calendar. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the 2026-2027 budget development calendar. Can I have a motion?
Motion, Jen?
Jen?
Second, Justin.
Second, Justin. Questions or comments before we vote?
So this is the typical calendar that you see around this time. I'll let Don sort of just talk again as our new school business administrator. This was his first budget calendar that he put together.
Yeah, so hopefully it mimics pretty closely what you've seen in the past. I really am relying on whatever the documents Tony has left behind for me. He's got very good about leaving breadcrumbs, as he called them. So following the breadcrumbs and setting up the new budget calendar.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Moving on to item 6.4, approval of first reading of board policies. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the first reading of the following board policies. Policy 4320, Superintendent, Board of Education Relations. Policy 4330, Administrative Staff. Policy 4420, Compensation and Related Benefits. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
I think Amy and Erica?
Yep.
Amy first, Erica second. Questions or comments before we vote?
So, we're working hard on just updating our board policies, and several of them, including these, have not been looked at since I think 2000. So 4320, really, there's not a lot of drastic changes. Again, we use Erie One policy manual just to sort of check and make sure that everything's updated. There's a little language difference that is a suggestion here. And then 4330 and 4420, my suggestion is to really just delete these, retire these policies. They're obsolete, essentially. They're superseded by our contract negotiations, and so they're really not necessary. And again, it's wise to not have policies in your manual that are not necessary.
Any other questions or comments before we vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, item 6.5, approval of professional learning plan for Marcellus Central School District. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the professional learning plan for the Marcellus Central School District 2025 through 2030. Can I have a motion?
Motion. Kelly.
Kelly,
Second, Justin.
second Justin. Questions or comments before we vote?
So Bob worked diligently on just updating our professional learning plan toward the end of June. Our plan expired June 30th of 2025, and so we're just putting that forward. There are a few little changes, but nothing really monumental.
All right. And it's typical to do, it's a 5-year plan?
5 years.
Okay.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 6.6, approval of first and final reading of board policy. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the first and final reading of the following board policy. Policy 6570, employment benefits for designated managerial and/or confidential officers and employees. Can I have a motion?
Motion, Jen.
Jen,
Second.
second Erica. Questions or comments before we vote?
So the only change here, and this is why I'm asking for it to be first and final, is one of the individuals here is a transportation dispatcher, one of the jobs in this policy. And it actually was 11 months before, and we changed it to 10 months. And I'm requesting that we change it back to 11, and you'll see a little bit later in personnel. Evan Sanders is our dispatcher right now. And the transportation department, we do service students over the summertime, taking students to special programming. And it can be pretty desolate up there, especially if the director ever wants to take a vacation day over the summertime. So there are many things that we feel the dispatcher can do to support the director of transportation in those summer months, getting schedules ready. And so that's why we're asking to move his position from 10-month to 11-month.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, moving on to item 7, personnel. Approval of personnel items. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the following personnel items. You can see them listed there before you. 7.1 through, looks like 7.18. Yes. All right. Can I have a motion?
Motion, Jen.
Jen, and then Eric, second is Erica. Questions or comments about any of those items before we vote?
So just to clarify with the bus drivers and bus attendants, you'll remember in October, we had sort of an estimate, and then what Jackie, our Director of Transportation, does is she does an audit of the runs, just, you know, as drivers become more efficient with the routes, then she can get a better sense of exactly the hours. And so what you see here is the audited hours that she has, this is the most accurate figure. Some are similar to what we put forward in October, and some are changed by little amounts.
They also change, students move in and out of the district, the routes
Okay.
change a little bit. We have a driver that's resigning, so another driver might want to bid on that route if they like that route better, so things get moved around.
I also see Kathy Ryan is retiring.
Yes,
so
Kathy is
congratulations
retiring.
to
Yeah,
Kathy.
she is retiring in November of next year,
Yeah.
so we're gonna hatch a plan on how we're gonna handle that. Not an ideal time in the middle of the year, but.
All right. Any other questions or comments before we vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Christine, I do want to just welcome
Yes.
Julie Darmody-Latham. Julie is here tonight with her husband Paul. She will be our new Director of Special Education and Grants, and we are so grateful that she chose Marcellus. And thank you for being here, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you for choosing me. I'm thrilled to join all of you. I can't wait.
Welcome. Yes,
Thank you.
welcome. We're excited to have you here. Yes. And Kara, we will miss you very much.
Thank you so much. I want to sit here very much.
And we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 8, consent agenda. Approval of consent agenda items. You can see them listed there before you. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the following consent agenda items. Items 8.1 through 8.6. Can I have a motion?
Motion made.
Is that Kelly?
Second, Justin.
Amy, and then Justin, okay. All right. Any questions or comments before we vote about any of those items? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Moving on to item number 9, informational items.
Yeah, so on Friday, this Friday, we have the premiere of Willy Wonka Jr. That's our 7th and 8th grade musical, Friday, November 21st, and Saturday, November 22nd. What I do want to note, though, at 6:15 on Friday night, we're going to do an official DMS auditorium ribbon cutting. So again, hopefully people will join us for the ribbon cutting and then stay for the show. And that's it.
Okay, all right. Meeting adjourned. Resolved that the Board of Education meeting be adjourned. Can I have a motion?
Motion?
Kelly?
Second.
Second, Jen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right.